Hello and welcome to the Outdoor Gibbon episode 16. Ton Jones. Many people will know him from the hit TV series Auction Hunters. He's also one of the R&D directors for Airforce Airguns in the States. As well as that, he's an avid hunter who's been hunting from an early age. But before we get on and listen to the podcast we recorded with him the other evening, I thought we'd just have a quick recap as to where we are and what was happening in the year. I think my last podcast, I was going to be heading down to Staffordshire to the stalking show. So that went ahead. We went down there, caught up with a load of people. The show this time was absolutely fantastic, much bigger than last year, more stands there. Lots of people to talk to, catch up with, bumped into loads of people, and just generally had a good day. Very busy on Saturday morning. It quietened off fairly quickly in the afternoon. It's definitely one of those shows that if you're into deer stalking and outdoor activities, that's what it caters for. There's none of the rubbish that you get at other shows. There's nobody trying to sell you a hot tub or something like that. Every stand that was there literally had something relevant to deer stalking or deer tracking or processing, high seats or firearms, shotguns, etc. It's just a well organised, well put together show that it says exactly what it does on the tin kind of thing. As well as that, my stay down in Leicestershire was staying at a friend's farm again, and got the opportunity to get out, get another muntjac, and dropped a couple of foxes at the same time. So happy keeper, and all is good. Anyway, let's get on with the main content. As I say, we recorded this the other evening with Ton, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Welcome to the Outdoor Gibbon podcast. Today I've got a very special guest. We've actually got Ton Jones. You may have seen him on things like Auction Hunters. He's also the director of research and destruction for Airforce Airguns. Welcome, Ton. How you doing?
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you. So let's get started. And can you tell us sort of a bit about how you got into shooting and things like that, and your background and where it's come from?
Shooting was one of the earliest memories of my childhood. It started with my grandfather and my father as kind of a rite of passage growing up. We weren't allowed to go hunting or backpacking with my father and my grandfather till we were efficient with a air rifle. We actually started out with an air rifle that he had bought out of a catalog, Sears and Roebuck.
Oh, right. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it was Silver Streak, Benjamin Sheridan Silver Streak 20 cal, and he would set out old pull top oil cans at like 5 meters, and we would have to shoot them and hit them 5 times and take a couple steps back, shoot it again 5 times without missing. And once we were efficient to a certain amount of steps back, my grandfather would take us out and my father would take us out and get those huge marshmallows of fluff that they sell here in the US, and he would throw it out in the stock pond.
Oh, right.
You'd have to be able to shoot the marshmallow with that 20 cal. And if we did that, then he got a little bit cheeky because he would take his foot and tap the water and make it bounce.
Oh, fantastic.
So, yeah, that was how we started with the air rifles. And once we were successful, we were able to go to like rim fires,
Okay.
and step our way up from hunting rabbits and small game to center fire and go deer hunting, bird hunting. And it was just a natural progression.
Yeah. Because obviously the US and the UK we're sort of completely different with the way that firearms and gun law works. So yeah, every child really learns about firearms from an early age, whereas over here it's very different. You find that a lot of people are much more reserved now about guns, and it's all, well, it just seems to be our national press thing. It's guns are going to kill you. It's like, well, it's not the gun, it's the person behind it, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's when we grew up, it was nothing for me to it was absolutely different than the way it is now. Growing up, when we were I could remember being 8, 9 years old, having a Ruger 1022 bungee corded to my handlebars of my bicycle, driving
Fantastic.
down to the Safeway or the Five and Dime, and with 50 cents getting a box of 22 ammo and an ice cream. And
How fantastic.
and it was like my grandpa would say, "Hey, flip me a quarter or a half dollar and say, hey, go get yourself a box of 22 and go get yourself ice cream. I want to see you out in the back practicing and being and learning how to shoot." And we would go get it. But he would say, he's all, the second I see you're not being safe, I want to come out and whoop your butt.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
it was ingrained in us from a very young age. Proper firearm safety, proper handling, trigger control, barrel safety, like I mean, it was no different than people learning how to walk, ride a bike, anything else. It was part of growing up.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I did it with my kids, even just with like Nerf guns, muzzle awareness, start them off that young, and suddenly you get out in the field, you don't have to worry about them because all of a sudden it's so ingrained. The same way
Yeah.
you've learned that's just second nature straight away.
Yeah. And it's actually kind of amusing nowadays, because when it comes down to certain things, like people today, like, oh my God, you're like, your kids are handling a firearm. I said, yeah, I know. I started them a little later than I did. Like, excuse me? I said, yeah, I know. My boy's 5. I waited till he was 5 before I started teaching him how to shoot an air rifle. They're
Yeah,
like, what do you mean you started late? I said, yeah, I started like at 3 years old.
yeah, yeah. No,
And
absolutely.
it was like, holy crap. And people were like, oh my God, you started late? Yeah, I was 3 years old with my brothers. And my boy's 5, and by 5 years old, we were on rim fires and actually practicing with rimfire 22s.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and I think your ability then to understand it and respect it is so much better. We're up, well, as I said, we're up against it in this country. You mentioned the word guns, and people take a step back. I do a lot with the scouts, and we've been doing a lot of air rifle shooting with them, and a lot of the parents know that obviously I do a lot of shooting, so there's never a fear and a worry. But you speak to other scout groups and mention air guns, and it's complete and utter like, you can't teach my child to use a gun. It's like, well, actually, shooting's a great hobby, and it's a fantastic skill and ability to control and do things. So yeah, it's we're always up against it, and I think you guys are suffering quite badly over there with quite a bit of problems going along the
The scariest thing is, the biggest way to make a problem is to tell people they shouldn't learn about something.
exactly. Yeah,
And okay, they're all, we don't want you to learn about this. This is bad. Well, why shouldn't we learn about it? Well, you shouldn't learn about it till this age. Well, if we start teaching everybody about things early on, I mean, that helps you explain stuff, make it part of ingrained in your life and culture, so it's not such a shock.
yeah,
I mean, I mean, granted, we bring people out. I've taken people hunting that have never seen a firearm other than in television, and we have to put them in a training course. And I get a lot of people from Germany, Netherlands, that have seen guns in museums. Um, I had I had a gentleman from Beverly in the UK
okay.
that uh, had never even owned a knife.
Wow. Okay. Right. Yeah. And suddenly you're taking him out hunting kind of thing. And
And
yeah.
I'm like, okay, hey, let's grab some knives. And he just kind of like froze. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, you don't understand. We're not allowed to have knives. I'm like, what do you? Oh, that's right. You can't have knives. And I'm like, I mean, me,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm holding a 8-inch folding blade. I'm like, what do you mean? And it was just a shocker for him. And it took us an extra day and a half of like training with him.
Yeah.
And we went and we had planned on going on a deer hunt,
Okay.
and it was not happening. So we went out and got the air guns, broke out some air guns. We're like, okay, we're going to start this. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I started out like I was teaching my kids how to shoot, because it was all the way down to the safety of everything. Taught him to pull the trigger with nothing in the barrel,
Yep.
not loaded, and started the whole progression over. And he was, by the end of the first day, he was so excited that guns don't kill people. He
Yep.
realized
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
quick. He said, "Oh, this thing doesn't just magically shoot, and you can't pull the trigger and the bullet magically goes to the target." Because he, in his mind from television and the news, thought no matter where you point it, if you pull the trigger, it's the bullet's going to magically go and hit the target.
Yeah, no, and it's that again. It's the lack of education and the whole thing you say about knives. As a child growing up, I remember my grandfather used to just always give me a different penknife. Like you'd go and see him, he'd be like, "Oh, here's another one for you," and it was just I had penknives and pipe knives and all sorts of things that he'd given me. And for my kids now, it's like, well, I've always started them with knives and taught them about it, and but there's so many children out there. We as I say, with the scout groups, you give them a sharp knife and you go, it's a sharp knife. And they're like, well, what do I do with it? Well, you keep the pointy bit away from you and you cut things with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, just the control and the ability that we've lost as well as a nation, it's horrendous. And
Yeah.
how do you prepare these children for the future?
Yeah. We will beat it to death that you're not supposed to run with scissors.
Yeah, yeah,
But at what point do we really in life, hey, I'm sitting down at a desk cutting a piece of paper. I want to get up and do a 100-meter sprint.
that's
Give
it.
me a freaking break. At
Yeah,
what point is that really necessary? But okay, hey, how to properly use a pocket knife in life when you're opening up boxes, if you're at work, like you can go into almost any place of business in the US. Someone is going to have a pocket knife. It is a utility tool here to cut boxes, cut things open. I mean, I still have that is hamburger and steak residue on my pocket knife. I'm like,
fantastic.
I'm like, but there's tools that are out there that will help define this world
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
are
yeah. No, totally.
are now like the evil. And let's forget about the people behind it. Forks didn't make people fat.
No.
People made people fat.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I have I have a gun that's on my wall that is an ongoing joke. It is absolutely, my friends come over and we had a camera on it for the first year and a half. I think we took it down at 516 days that the gun had not gone off the wall and killed anybody. And
Fantastic.
we took the bullets and put bullets all around it. And we said, oh, like it was like day 299. The gun is still not got off the wall and killed anybody. It must be a good gun. It must have been raised right. It
Yeah,
must have
yeah.
been raised with ethics. And I'm like, well, let's go get a bad bullet and put it in with the good bullets, and let's load it and chamber it and put it back on the wall. Now it's loaded and cocked, and still it has not got off the wall and killed anybody.
Exactly. And I think that was well, we had the air gun ban, not the air gun ban. We had the handgun ban occur in the UK. Now that took away a lot of clubs that were genuine people wanted to shoot. However, our biggest crime rate now is illegal handguns. It's like where have all these handguns come from? But there's certain parts of the UK you could go to, and if you know the right people and you ask the right questions, you can get an illegal handgun. And it hasn't
Yeah.
taken them off the streets. They're still there.
The people sitting on those fancy cushions in mahogany rooms making rules are not smart enough to realize that criminals don't care what you put on paper.
No, exactly.
They really don't. And it's like, oh, we're gonna send you to jail. And they're like, well, let's see. I'm unemployed. I have nothing going for me. You're gonna give me a place to sleep. You're gonna feed me. And for the most part, it's not that horrible because I have more rights in jail than I do out on the streets. What's the downside? Because criminals don't care about what you put on paper. They're going to do it anyways. Because
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
the law abiding citizen is the only one that follows the law.
We're the ones that always get basically we lose something else, and
Yeah.
that's how it goes.
And it seems that nowadays the sad part is the people that are writing these laws are making more and more law abiding citizens criminals.
Yeah.
They're writing more honest citizens of every country. They're writing them into criminals.
Pretty much.
And
If you do, yeah, yeah, totally.
yeah,
And it's quite sad. Anyway, let's dive back into where we were. So obviously types of hunting. What's your sort of main go-to for hunting? What do you enjoy doing? Is it going after deer? Is it going after wild boar, pigs, and things like that?
I absolutely love uh, exotic game hunting here in Texas. Pig hunting is Deer hunting is fun for me, but
Yep.
it's very limited season. And unfortunately, deer hunting here is right in the middle of it's August is the opening of archery.
Okay.
Then you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
a brief moment for September, October. It opens and closes depending on the state here in the US. Um, and what happens is it lands right between our air gun tournament season.
All
So
right.
I don't get to go out. Then the moment I get to go out, it's the US has Thanksgiving, then it's Christmas. So it's really hard for me to go deer hunting.
Right.
But I've actually been able to harvest a deer the last 2 years with the bumper of my truck.
Fantastic. It's a bit different to taking it out with a rifle, but hey ho.
Yeah, and the game warden here laughs. He's like, "Ton, you really should stop filling your deer tags with your truck." I said, "Yeah, I know. Thank you." He's all, "It's getting very expensive." But for me, exotic game hunting like oryx, I like axis. Axis is one of my favorites. Black buck,
Okay.
um, red deer, because it's open. When it's an exotic in Texas, it's year round.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And if it's an invasive species like pig and boar, it's year round.
Right, right. So there's no tags needed for boar or anything like that. It is basically classed as a vermin type of thing.
Yeah, pigs are a nuisance species, and some ranchers will actually invite you out to come eradicate them.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So it's an absolute blast. But when it's coming to harvesting when I go out to harvest for food for the family, I go after the big ones like red deer,
Okay.
um, and axis or oryx or a nilgai, something large. For me, the flavor of deer is not the top of my list.
Right.
I go for
Okay.
more of like the elk, the axis, red deer, black buck. Um, it's a lot better tasting to me and my kids. And I want to get a bigger exotic game animal. So I can take one or two and feed my family for the year versus having to shoot six whitetail and be like, oh,
Yeah, it's a bit like we shoot. Obviously, we've got the roe deer over here,
yeah,
which are quite small. So
yeah.
currently, I've just butchered two today, but there's another two in the chiller, and you end up they're so small. It's like, well, that does a few meals, and there you go. But yeah, we've just literally just before coming on this call with you, just fed the kids. We've just had wild boar for dinner tonight.
Oh yeah. See, and my kids didn't know what store-bought meat tasted like till their first birthday.
Yeah,
And on their first birthday, they got a rack of lamb,
right.
and they were like, "Well, that's not bad." And I was like, "Okay." The first time they had a store-bought hamburger, they were so mad at me.
Really, yeah. Just the difference in taste and everything about it.
Oh, my oldest was so disappointed. He looked at me. He's all, "Daddy, this does not taste good." He's all, "Actually, it's quite disgusting."
Oh, fantastic.
I was like, "That's a hamburger." He's like, "No, it is not. It is bad."
But that's really good again. And that obviously, yeah, you provide all the meat for the family and things like that. And that's what I try and do here. We've got chest freezers full of food, whether it be pheasant or partridge, everything along those lines, just purely because my children don't know, they don't have chicken. So chicken for them is pheasant or partridge.
Yeah.
We get a lot of duck. We don't use any beef. So everything there is venison. I do a bit of stuff for a few shepherds, so we get the occasional lamb and things like that. So yeah, know exactly where everything comes from that's in my freezer, which is really, really important.
Yeah. Pheasant is another really good one. I love pheasant. Oh man. And we do get wild beef here because we're in Texas.
Oh, okay.
And I've had friends come in from all over the world, and I was like, "Hey, yeah, we're gonna have some wild beef." And that look right there, they're kind of like, "What is wild
Wild
beef?"
beef. Yeah, exactly. What is wild beef?
And everybody thinks, "Oh, well, cows on these big farm and ranches." I said, "Yeah, but I'm all there's cows out like Watusies and Texas Longhorns, and there's cattle out there that are not grain fed. They're just, and people are like, oh, grass fed beef." I was like, no, that's not quite how it works. And that's just a marketing ploy. I said, let's go get a wild cow. And they're like, oh, well, that's not fair. They're just so friendly and sweet. I said, okay, sure. We took this guy out hunting, and I was like, hey, there's a wild cow. So why don't you pull up in the pasture and get him to feed out of your truck? He pulled up and he went to go to walk up to the gate, and it charged the gate and smashed the whole front of the gate, and it took off in the field. We spent the next 4 days trying to find it in 5,800 acres.
I was going to say it's not when you say field, it's just like yeah, half of the UK kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it to cross this ranch. People are like, "Oh, you're hunting on a ranch." I said, "Yeah, we're hunting on a ranch." To go from one gate to the next is an hour and a half drive.
Good grief. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you go drive for an hour and a half through the off-road and brush to get there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And these animals are probably not seeing anybody. They're out there. They're just that's it. They're just exactly as you say. They're wild beef at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
it's wild beef, and they're like, and people are like, "Well, how did they eat?" I said, "Um, the stuff in the wild." No, but no one's out here to feed it like grass and hay. So where do you think the grass and hay come from? It's called coastal alfalfa. No, it comes in big rolls, doesn't it? I said, yeah, it comes from those wild fields out there.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. But it is that's society, isn't it? I think society's taken a massive disconnect from actually the process of having to say that Disneyfied character of a cow or a lamb or a deer is actually that piece of meat that's on that little polystyrene tray. And
Yeah,
that's the biggest problem. Disney has a lot to answer for.
dude, that struggle is real. People don't understand. And people make that joke all the time. They'll, why do you have to go hunt? Why don't you just go get meat from the store? They have plenty of it there.
Yeah.
So where do you think it comes from? The cooks in the back. I'm like, oh wow.
But
And
that's the problem. I think we as hunters have that responsibility, that we know exactly what we've done and we take responsibility for the animal that we take and we give it great respect. A lot of people don't want to have that almost guilt and I think on their hands that to say that they've actually been out and that piece of meat had a life, but they just see it on a plastic tray, and as far as they're concerned, it's just a piece of meat. Whereas
yep.
actually, we as the actual hunter really do we probably have more respect for the animal than anybody that just walks into a supermarket and buys a piece of meat off the shelf.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. People have a huge disconnect. They think when they go up to the supermarket or the fast food, they never put two and two together that that chicken nugget or that hamburger patty or whatever they're eating, that taco, probably less than 60 days ago had eyes.
Yeah, totally, and it moved or
Yeah.
barred and wandered around the place.
Yeah.
But
I hate to break it to you, but that was part of an animal that pooped and peed.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
telling
yeah.
you.
I know, and I think I don't know. I don't know where this turning point in the modern world actually came, that we really have kind of flipped on it completely. All right, yeah, the rest of the world, you go to China and places like that, no problem at all. They understand that the piece of meat that they're eating, yeah, it lives in the shed and it lives below the house, and that's going to
Yeah.
be dinner tomorrow. But as a developed world, we've kind of completely flipped on our head and go, we don't want to know where we don't want to know where our food comes from.
Yeah. With all the technology that this world has, there's quite a few countries that have had a major disconnect in technology where they like they'll research the hell out of anything but where their own food source comes from. So like we go into it all the time because as hunters and sportsmen, the biggest conservation of land and wildlife in the world comes from hunters.
Yep. Yeah,
The
totally.
most the most money put into land and wildlife conservation, because I'm on both sides. I've ran wildlife rescues. I still to this day do wildlife rescue and aid in a lot of government agencies and helping them do animal removal and relocation, and I hunt. And without hunters in this world, there would be complete land devastation and there'd be 10 times the animals that are extinct.
Yeah, no, yeah, and it's a big thing that's happening here on the Scottish hillside, with the banning of grouse shooting and all the rest of it. The keepers that are up there, the work they do means that there's diversity in wildlife. But as far as people down in the cities see, oh, it's just a bunch of posh people going around the hillside shooting things. They don't understand that these gamekeepers are out protecting, taking away the foxes, the vermin that's up on the hillside, and keeping diversity up there. But nobody sees that because the press just report it as a bunch of very posh people with lots of money going and shooting on the hill.
Yeah, the press is a whole nother joke nowadays because it's not about news. The the press of the I think really think that the media and press of the 80s and 90s have gone away. After pretty much the 90s, press has become just a marketing and a sales tool for whoever owns the company at the time. It's just a marketing tool.
Yeah, just selling something that's going to sell them a product at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yep.
Really?
It is, and they make the most money off of fear and turmoil.
Yeah, because that's what sells, because people gravitate towards something like that. If you put out a really nice story, nobody's going to buy that paper, are they? But if you put out some sort of scaremongering type of story, you've just sold thousands, millions of copies of whatever it is, and you had millions of downloads. So instant, that's the way they do it.
It really does crack me up, because if you can tell it's a slow media day, because they'll tell you a really heartwarming story, then followed up by something that usually wouldn't be that tragic, but because they followed up, it was such a nice, heartwarming story. Well, these kids just got adopted after 20 years of being alone and in foster care, and this family adopted the whole family of 7 orphan kids. But this family got in a car wreck, and the guy got out and shot all 6 of them. And I'm like, oh, well, really, guys?
Yeah. Because nothing to report, isn't it? And they start dragging up rubbish and
Oh yeah.
almost making things up then
Oh yeah.
to sell stuff. And I think that's our problem as again, as hunters. We've got this massive uphill struggle, and I think the biggest problem we've got in the hunting community is we're all fighting against each other in some ways. And if we could actually come together and work together, rather than everybody, like you've got your guys that are your bird hunters and you've got your deer stalkers, if everybody could actually just work together, we might actually be able to make this thing work.
That would be absolutely amazing, because what you said is 100% true. And I hear it every day. Well, you guys aren't real hunters. We shoot traditional archery. Well, that's not real hunting. We shoot compound. You shoot crossbow. Well, you guys don't do it right. We use black powder. You're a centerfire shooter. Oh, you're not a real hunter. You use semi-auto. We're bolt action. I was like, oh, we reload. I'm like, dude, has anybody ever thought of what the common denominator? We're all out in the wild. We're all hunting. Why can't everybody just like get the stick out of their ass and become like teammates and become one?
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's just get along. We're all out there doing the same exact thing, just a different way.
The end result is you end up with something that you've harvested, and you're going to take it home and eat it. How you
Yeah.
do that, it doesn't matter. If you want to shoot it traditional archery, or you want to go out with black powder, you crack on. But if we've got to work together on this, because otherwise the rift inside us is what's going to tear actually the community that we've got apart, and it lets the anti side of it in, really.
Yeah. I don't care if you're out there with an atlatl or an AR, as long as you're out there doing something with nature, hunting, and we're all out there with the same purpose, doing what all of us love as a family and a community.
Yeah. That's the key, and especially to be able to, well, you're already doing it, to bring the new generation, the youngsters in, so they appreciate why we do it, and it's not just as my mother would say, you're running around shooting the head out, you're head shooting everything in the countryside. It's like, well, no, mum, you come up here and you eat the food that I produce. So it's getting that across, and if we can teach the kids, even if my children don't do it, and they decide that hunting isn't for them, but they've had the education, and if somebody raises a point or says something, they can turn around and defend and say, no, this is the reason it's done.
Yeah, my oldest boy, I don't think he's going to be a hunter. He's we take him hunting, and he's like, Daddy, it's really not my thing. I like fishing. I'm like, cool, that's cool.
Yeah.
He's I don't want to shoot Bambi, but Bambi tastes good. I said, that's fine. My little one's like, oh, my little one, man, me and that kid are going to go rounds. We're out hunting rabbit, and I'm drawing down on it with my rifle. And he goes to look, and his chair squeaks as I'm pulling the trigger, and off it goes, and I miss. He looks over at me. He's like, Daddy, I'm disappointed. You missed. I'm like, but you moved. He's like, Daddy, you missed. I'm disappointed. I'm telling Mom.
Oh, that's the worst.
Me and you were going to go rounds, kid.
No, my daughter 9, and her comment is, "I'm allowed to go out and shoot the daddy deer, anything with antlers, but leave mummy deers alone." And it's like, well, we sometimes have to deal with them as well. But no, she's been around it all the time, so she's seen everything. And normally she'll come out and she'll touch it. Do you want to have a go? No, not yet. But I can see it being one of those things. She's been out stalking with me and things like that. So yeah, it's only a matter of time before she's behind the rifle wanting to have a go. So that's really cool. And it's just one of those things. Getting the younger generation into it, I think, so crucial. Now, you recently went over to Germany to the EWA show. Yeah, tell us about that. I'm assuming you're over there with the work you do with the Airforce Airguns.
Yeah, we were over there with Airforce Airguns and Rapid Airworks.
Okay.
Showing off the new Raw HM1000X Micro Hunter.
Okay.
That is the new compact hunting Raw and the Air Force Talon Bolt arrow gun.
Okay. Right. Yeah. So is
Yeah.
that's like it's an air gun that you literally slide a crossbow bolt into, I'm assuming.
Yes, you slide out over a barrel and shoot.
Oh, cool.
We actually developed that arrow gun in 2012.
Wow.
When I was still working on the show, I had traveled out to Air Force on one of our breaks and sat down with John McCaslin, the owner, and I said, "Hey, I'd really like an air gun that shoots arrows." And he's like, "What the hell?" And we discussed it, and we were going over with it, and we'd actually built one, and we hunted with one, and we took it out with Fish and Wildlife, and we did some hunting with it. And it was amusing because at the time we had talked to the local Fish and Wildlife, and they're like, "We don't know what to do with this because there's no rules, no laws, we don't know what the application would be."
Yeah, because obviously it doesn't quite fall. Obviously, where does it fall? It doesn't, because it doesn't fall as a crossbow and it doesn't fall as a firearm, does it? At that point.
Yeah, it's not an air gun. It doesn't shoot a pellet.
No.
It doesn't shoot projectiles. It shoots a bolt, but it's not archery. And there was so many weird things it didn't do. So while we were working on that and waiting for an answer, we had actually developed that Texan air gun, the 45 Texan.
Okay. Yeah.
So it got put in the closet. The arrow gun got put away for 10 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So it's just sat there, and then all of a sudden brought it back out, and
yeah, and we watched people start releasing their versions over the years, and we're like, okay, you know what? We're going to do something with it now. And we've made not many modifications, but with the new demands, the new increase in speeds and performance, we had to make a few adjustments, and we brought it back after 10 years of it sitting there.
Oh, fantastic. Because obviously the range of calibers that Air Force do, I noticed you go up to some big old calibers, and there's been looking at the website and stuff like that, some big things shot with them as well.
Oh yeah, we go all the way up to the 510,
Wow.
shooting a 620 grain projectile.
It's phenomenal what an air gun can actually do, and when you see that, the devastating powers of the equivalent of a bullet gun at the end of the day, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, 45 long Colt.
Yeah. And it's all air powered. It's just I think I remember watching. There was one company in the UK, I think it's Daystate or someone like that. They did a 30 cal or a 303, and you saw them out hunting with that, and obviously people posted it on the internet, and everybody, you can't shoot deer with an air gun. It's like, well, actually, at the end of the day, if it's putting the projectile out with the right velocity and it's giving the amount of kinetic energy it needs, you can.
I've hunted a lot of animals with I've taken pigs with a 257
Yep.
and deer, elk. No, not elk. I took oryx, red deer, black buck with the 308. I've taken nilgai, lots of hogs, lots of ram, over 300-pound pigs with the 45, with the 50.
What's its range like? Because obviously that's a major thing. Obviously, air power, you do get a big drop off, don't you? But what sort of the range you can get out of these?
It depends on the caliber, and a lot of it comes down to the shooter's capability.
Okay. Okay.
Um, we tell everybody to keep when hunting with an air gun, it's for ethical reasons. We tell everybody to keep their shots within 100 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Um, I have stretched out past that on a hog. With our 45, I've taken hogs at 200.
Okay. But
Shooting
you've
200.
obviously got a fair drop off on that projectile after a certain range. Then I take it.
Shooting the lighter grain projectiles with our Texan 45, like a 250 grain projectile with our 45 Texan carbon fiber,
Yep.
there was not much of a drop. It's coming out at almost 1,000 feet per second, and
Oh wow.
it's cooking it on impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
That pig just dropped. It was game over. And with our 308, granted, I've hunted smaller animals, coyotes at 150 to 200, just
Fantastic.
devastating. But
It,
when
it
there's
you wouldn't think that, yeah, that again, that's it. You say it's an air gun and people are just like, oh yeah, but it can't do that. But I've got an FAC, a firearms rated 2.2, and yeah, it's the equivalent at sub 100 yards of like shooting with a rimfire, and it is fantastic.
yeah, we've taken ground squirrels and prairie dogs with the raw shooting 25 cal. We've taken them at 200. It
Oh,
just
fantastic.
pop them. I'm like it's about the shooter's capabilities. The
Yes.
projectile and the rifle will do it. Well, not all rifles will do it, but if you know your tool, your device, it comes down to the shooter's capabilities.
I think that goes with everything, though. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you say they're using. It If the shooter's capabilities aren't there, then yeah, it does. You can have the best, most accurate rifle. You can have a quarter-inch MOA, but
Yeah.
if the guy can't shoot, it doesn't matter. Or the classic one in you get is the boy that gets buck fever or something like that, and he's like looking at the target. You can see it, yeah, and the thing that's 30 yards to the right falls over. It's like, well, we're looking at the same target here.
Exactly. And that's what we go to these competitions and you see people shoot and you watch them. Oh man, this gun's a piece of crap. Oh my, no, this is not working. That's not working. That's not working. And I've had bad days at the range. People are like, what happened? And I'll just straight up tell them, well, man, I sucked today. And then they're like, what? I said, yeah, I screwed up. So what'd you do? I said, I don't know. The gun's on, but I'm off. And
Yeah,
it's just own it because it's not the device's fault. It's not the gun's fault. It's the operator. It's just like going back to what we discussed in the beginning. The gun didn't get up off the shelf and commit the crime. It's the operator. And just like in competition and just like in hunting, the device didn't miss. The
no,
operator did.
exactly. The operator is what causes the problem. So while you're over at EWA, obviously you had a look at the some of the night vision kit and the thermal with pulsar. Have you managed to get one of those yet over with you, or is that
I
something?
I have a call that I'm supposed to be placing with them next week with Pulsar over here.
Oh,
And
fantastic!
I ran into them again at NRA and they promised me a device finally.
Oh,
And
fantastic!
I'm going to hopefully acquire one in the next couple weeks because I want to go hunting with it.
I was going to say you look quite when I saw the video that you and Lee posted up. You look quite impressed looking at that piece of kit they had on there.
Oh my God. I was actually really impressed with that The having the ability to go day and night when you're out hog hunting here in Texas, one of the most amazing parts about it and one of the most difficult parts about it is you start out in the evening time at low light and you hunt into the night.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll hunt it in from night into the low light early morning into full light. So you need the ability to go with the night vision from daylight to dark and dark to daylight. And that has the capabilities of doing full night vision and daytime, or you have light and thermal. I mean, you can swap back and forth with the picture in picture.
Yes, yeah, that's the pretty cool part about it, isn't it? Having so for yeah, I can see that for the pig hunting and all the rest of it, it's a game changer. Um,
Yeah.
it's a sad thing, but in Scotland we're not yet allowed to use any image enhancing optics for being out shooting deer. You can use it for pigs because they're classified as vermin, so we can actually
Yeah.
go out with thermals. But yeah, you can't have a digital optic on any of your rifles.
I don't think we can have them for whitetail deer
Oh, okay, right.
because it's a native game species. We can do it for exotics,
Okay, yep.
exotics and non-native, and exotics, non-native, and pests.
So just going back to that, because you keep saying about our exotics and non-natives, do they still fall under the same tag system or not in the States? No.
No.
So when you talk about red deer and things like that, they're not on a tag system. So if you wanted to hunt a red in the over where you are in Texas, that's absolutely fine because it's not a native species.
Yeah. Like in Texas, there's no native species of elk, so you don't need a tag.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah, it's not a native species here, but yeah, if you go to New Mexico or Arizona, it's a native species there, so you have to have a tag.
I've always because it's always been one of those questions about the tag system and how it sometimes works, and I can never get a clear answer because obviously every outfitter says, oh, you've got to have a tag to come here, and if you want, for example, you want to go to Colorado, you've got to have your tag to go after elk and things like that. But I
Yes,
didn't realize that if it's non-native and it's in a different state, you don't need a tag. So that
you
does
don't
answer
need
a
a tag.
huge amount of questions, right?
Yeah, because pigs, like if you hunt pigs in California, you need a tag, but they're cheap. Yep,
Okay. So
because
they're not classified as invasive in California.
they're not classified as invasive species. They're considered as a native species.
How bizarre. How bizarre.
Yep.
So you cross
Pretty.
the border and suddenly they're invasive, or you pop into California and they're not.
And yes, exactly. So you have to check every state's rules. And the thing is, but every state requires you, no matter if it's a native or non-native species, to purchase a hunting license before hunting in their state.
Okay. So that's specifically to each state. You'd have to get a different hunting license. Now, does
Yes.
that obviously, if you were going out, let's just say taking a bow out, um, that hunting license still, you have to get a hunting license. Do you have to pass any like hunter training for using them?
Yeah, you're supposed to have a hunter's education is nationwide for us.
Okay. So that's like
And
the is that the IBET? Because I've obviously done my bow hunting qualifications, so I've got an IBET, an internet whatever it is, International Bow Hunters Education Program certificate.
yeah, this is just it's called General Hunter's Ed.
Okay,
And
right.
it teaches you firearm and hunting safety. It's a common knowledge class. It teaches you the common knowledge like proper muzzle control, hunting daylight hours for like um, half an hour before half an hour before sunrise. You can hunt
Yep.
half an hour after sunset.
Okay, right.
Don't shoot like if you know that there's someone in this direction, don't shoot in that direction. If there's houses that if you cannot see beyond that tree line and you do not know what's beyond that tree line,
Yeah, don't go and stick a bullet down there.
yeah, don't toss a bullet that direction because there could be something there. It teaches like the basics, and what it does, it's usually for kids that are 15, 16 years old.
Okay.
getting, and what it does for the longtime hunters, it's just a common sense class.
Yeah.
But it's a really good class for the youth getting into it, because at a certain age you need to get your hunting license.
Right.
And that's part of like the rite of passage, just getting, before you can get your hunting license, you need that hunter's education, which is nationwide.
See, again, even that is something that probably doesn't filter across to the UK. The Germans, you have to go through an education program. The Scandinavians do it. The UK, pretty much, you want a gun, you apply to the police force, and they're getting more strict about it now. But it used to be a case of, oh, here you go, have a couple of rim fires and have a 243. That's all you need, and off you go. And there was no real qualifications required or anything like that. Sometimes it was like you might have to have a mentor or things. But again, there's no stipulation and rules in to say that you have to do this for being a deer stalker. So I've had people come up that have shot deer for years, and you say to them, well, why haven't you done that? Oh, I've never been taught that. And it's just like, it's a scary thought along the way that, yeah, but we just seem to work on that historical, yeah, it's been done like that for years and years and years, and that's the way it will always be done.
Yeah. And that's one of the good things about being over here in the US is, if you want to learn, there's more than plenty of people that are out there willing to teach you. There's plenty of classes in every state, every city, every town. Not just with the National Rifle Association, Ducks Unlimited, but there's plenty of independent nonprofit groups that want to teach and educate. Every law enforcement fish and wildlife truck carries a hunter ed pack, a hunting guide.
Oh,
There's
fantastic.
phone apps called Outdoor Annual for Texas. So no matter what state, you can download the app and training guide.
Oh, brilliant.
And
Okay.
you can pull up any of these apps. I can pull it up on my phone, and it'll tell you, okay, I'm in this county, inside this state, I'm in this zone. This is what animals are available, and this is the time of year, and this is what you can hunt. And if you want a tag, you can buy it online.
That's awesome. That really, I suppose that's the thing. It's so well organized, and actually that's why there are you get to harvest some fantastic animals. And I think that was the thing that pretty much saved the population of native species out there, was the tag system in many ways.
Yeah.
There's so many people that want to hunt, and that's the beauty of it. The UK, I think it's growing. Deer stalking market is suddenly, it's having a massive boom over here, but the number of deer are massive. But the biggest problem we have is you've got so many, what would we call them? Probably outfitters, as you guys would call them. We've got so many outfitters that they've got all the land tied up, so everything, if you want to go and stalk a hill red or something like that, you're going to pay money for it. You can't just, there's no public land like you guys have got where you can just go out and go shooting.
Well, that's the big thing here in Texas. There's hardly any public land. If you want to hunt, you got to know somebody.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
But that, in some ways, that's kind of makes it that little bit safer, because at least there's not going to be 30 guys running around with firearms in the woods, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. But a lot of landowners are cool. They're like, hey, we do have outfitters that run our property.
Yep.
But they've made it abundantly clear to these outfitters, they come second to anything else. They're like, you know what? I got a friend hunting this weekend. You're not hunting no matter how much money you're going to pay me.
That's
Because
really cool.
Outfitters get greedy.
Yes.
Outfitters,
No, totally.
Outfitters are unique, and there is a place for them in commerce and business. But with outfitters, they sell a dream and they sell a skill, and usually that skill, we're going to go here because I know the animals are going to be here. I'm like, we went out with an outfitter just because the ranch we went on, they required here for 3 years. I said, oh, okay. He was giving me this big long spiel about how to track these exotic game, and I'm like, okay, perfect. I was like, wow, that's very interesting. He was telling me all these cool facts about how these animals migrate and move. They were all wrong. And he didn't know I'd been in the wildlife industry my whole life. And he's like, all right, you want to sit on this side, this hillside right here, and you can see where these animals have been being pushed through. You can see by the way the trees are growing up, and that's how their bodies push them. I'm like, no, that's called the windward side of a tree. But
Yeah.
I'm like, you're listening to this guy, and he's missing the fact that there's game trails right behind him.
Yep.
And we're 30 minutes into this guy talking nonstop during a hunt. He didn't shut up one time. And as he's starting to walk off, me and my buddy lay down with our Barretts, and there's this beautiful oryx about 150 meters out. And I was like, no, we're going to take this because I'm done hunting with this jackwagon. Pow, drop it. And the guy just comes out of his pants and this thing drops, and he's like, oh my God, you shot it. He said, why didn't you tell me? I said, because you didn't shut up long enough to tell him that this is over here. I said, and that's not an animal rub. That's a windward side of the tree, and everything you said is complete bullshit, bro.
But unfortunately, these guys, they suddenly realize that they can make a lot of money for it. And and they'll get people in, and they keep bringing people in, and people come pay the money, so they can basically build the dream and tell you what you want to hear, and just keep blowing smoke at you. And a lot of people fall for it, and they're sucked in. So I started, my feedback for people was basically offering people free hunts. So I get people come over who've never shot before, and we'll take them out. And even if they get to the point where they've got the crosshairs on it and they don't want to pull the trigger, that's no problem. But normally they'll be up to like 100 yards, sub 100 yards, maybe looking at a deer, and they'll be like, that's something cool. I've never done that before. But everybody so far has been successful, so it's always been a good one.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's with outfitters, they get paid whether someone pulls the trigger or not, and they don't care.
No.
And the more people that don't pull the trigger, it's better off to them because they get to sell the next hunt.
Well, they've got that species or whatever they're looking for. It's still there, so we'll sell it again. We'll sell it again. And if somebody does actually take it, unfortunately, yeah, you get paid once for it. Once it's dead, that's it. You can't pull the trigger again on it. So yeah, I understand that, and it's a shame really, because you hear horror stories. We've had Scandinavian guests and things like that have been to different places, and the amount of money they've paid to an outfitter, and you think what we're actually getting as the guy taking them out is not what they're paying, and it's crazy money.
Yeah, and I've seen the outfitter gig. I've watched it, and I'm like, wow, it's another genius marketing scam. And I'm like, okay, if that's what y'all want to do, I personally don't think, unless I go to Africa, I don't think I'll use another outfitter.
I suppose Africa's the odd one though, isn't it? It really, you do have to have somebody, that you have to have a guide that knows the place, because otherwise
You'll be food for something.
You're pretty much, yeah. Everything wants to kill you. It's a bit like going to Australia as well. Everything over there wants to bite you or kill you, kind of thing.
Well, we went out to Australia, which was an absolute blast. I got to hunt Australia, and the guide, he said, I'm not an outfitter, I'm a guide. He's all, I am taking you out, but he's all, Mr. Tunn, he's like, I want you to show me how to catch snakes. So I took him out for an evening of catching carpet pythons, diamond pythons, and we were chasing snakes up inside the bush. He was out chasing kangaroos, and I showed him how to shoot a rifle, because up in the bush, guns in Australia are another next to impossible thing. But a few ranchers can have firearms.
Oh, okay.
And he had this very ancient 22 rimfire. The scope was put on with carpentry screws.
Oh dear.
But it was just the most amazing time, and they were so humble about it. He's like, I'm going to take you out, but he's like, I don't know what to look for. I just want to go with you. So I will guide you around. I know the roads, but show me what to look for. I was like, all right, let's go, guy.
Oh, fantastic. But that's some of those are the memories, and that's what it's all about. I think any hunt you go on and share an experience, that's kind of the actual pulling the trigger is the clinical part. That
Yeah.
just happens. It's no problem. But everything else that leads up to it and afterwards, those are the
Yeah.
bits that live with you.
My poor wife was with me and her brother who lives over there in Australia. And we drove up and down the roads for about 5 hours catching diamond pythons and carpet pythons. And 3 days later, I proposed to her on the beach in Australia on New Year's Eve.
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. But there you go. So yeah, you'll never forget that you're out there catching pythons, and that's where you propose for marriage.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
absolutely amazing.
that is fantastic. So let's bring this back round again. So obviously, is there anything exciting? Have you got any hunts that are coming up in the near future that you're looking forward to?
And oh my God, yes, I am actually getting to go on a hunt with a very dear friend of mine, Jim Gilliland, um, in just over a month. He is an absolutely amazing man. He is credited with the longest sniper shot in Iraq with a traditional 7.62 by 5.1 308 rifle.
Okay.
Um, yeah, Jim is an absolute amazing, humble, down to earth veteran of war, wounded veteran. Um, him and one other wounded vet. I got a call from one of my friends that has an exotic game ranch and said, "Hey, Ton," he said, "what are you doing?" I said, "No, I'm just hanging out with a couple of vets." And he's like, "Well, I got a bunch of animals on my property." I said, "By any chance, do you want to get rid of like 3 of them?" He's like, "No." I said, "Well, by any chance, you're going to let me shoot 3 of them?" He's like, "I want an air gun." I said, "I want 3 animals." He said, "Deal."
Fantastic. It was always a deal to be done. Yeah.
Yep. And I said, "I just want to be able to bring my buddies out and I want them to be able to shoot some axis deer,
Okay.
big axis deer." And he's like, "Well, I don't want to charge them. They've done a lot for this country. They're I want to take them out for 3 or 4 days of just happiness and playtime." He's
Yeah.
like, "Deal. I'll cook." I said, "Perfect. I'll see you in a month." And we're gonna go out with air guns and hunt axis deer and have campfires and hang out and just have fun.
That sounds like that's all it's about at the end of the day sometimes. And yeah, I look forward to seeing. I'm sure you'll put a picture up at some point, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, I look forward to seeing those.
Yeah, these guys are just Jim on social media. It's long underscore gunner on Instagram. And he is Jim Gilland. He is just a really cool, down to earth guy, salt to the earth, just really humble. And he hangs out with me because I'm always talking crap to him and giving him hell.
That's cool. Hey,
Poor bastard.
it doesn't matter at the end of the day as long as you have fun, and I think
Oh
that's
yeah.
all it's about. And I think that most of the shooting world, it's about just sitting there and chatting about rubbish sometimes. And then
Oh
when it
yeah.
comes down to it, you get so yeah. We used to go to Ireland deer stalking, and it was 5 lads for a week. 90% of the time we were just sat inside with the fire going. But you'd go out, you do what you needed to do, you come back in, you'd have a cup of tea and just natter about all sorts of rubbish.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's
For years, for just over a year, Jim's been trying to get me to understand how all those turrets work because they're all turret turners. Spin the turret, move it back and forth, up and down. And that's the funniest thing because I've had so many eye surgeries, I'm pretty much blind.
right.
And I will zero my scope like my center fire or my rim fires. I center my rim fires at 100.
Yep.
I center my center fires at 200 or 300, depending on what caliber. My air guns, I zero at 75. Unless they're a competition, I know it's 100 yards. And then everything from that point on is a hold over or hold under or hold for windage. Nothing ever gets touched. And I use first focal plane, so I always know what's center.
Right. Okay.
And it drives him absolutely nuts. He said, well, this many clicks. I said, bro, my shoes were on it and I can't count that high. And he's like, you've got to be kidding me. He's all, you're going to have to learn this. I said, I've learned my whole life by doing holds.
Yeah. And if it works for you,
Yeah.
if it works, it works.
And he's taking me out. He's like, this many clicks. I start turning turrets. I said, was I going left or right? He's like, what do you mean? I said, I forgot which one I did. He's like, oh my God, it's all messed up.
But I suppose that there's definitely a world of people that, yeah, they like to dial in on their target, and that they then pull the trigger because they know they've moved their zero. But yeah, I started off with air guns, and it was holdovers and hold unders, and yeah, it as I say, if it works, it works.
It works. And he gets so mad because I'll do a hold and it hits. He's like, how did you know where that was going to hit? I said, because I know. He's like, but how? I said, I don't know, because I know. He's like, that's not an answer. I said, well, I don't know, but I know. He's like, okay, so he'll get behind the scope and he'll see a target and he's like, well, I need to do spin, 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 click, 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 pulls and shoots. I said, well, how did you know what to do that? And he explains it. I said, bro, English. So I am speaking English. I said, no. You sound like you put a bunch of marbles in your mouth and you drink some soda pop and try to explain it to me. I'm all, I don't understand crap you're saying. So he teaches me he'll tell me how many clicks to go and I hit my target. Then we roll reversal. He gets down behind the air gun or the rifle and he'll shoot. And if he misses, I said, oh, just hold it here. And he shoots and hits. He's like, how did you do that? I said, well, look at the grass. Look at the things move. He's like, I hate you.
So what?
Now
obviously, yeah. So what scopes then do you favour? Obviously, on the air guns, do you need something with mil dots or a bit of the Christmas tree reticle or something like that?
Oh yeah, the more debris on the scope for me, the better.
Yeah, because it gives you something to actually move your aim points up and down.
I need. If there was a grid with a bunch of lines and dots all over it, it doesn't even have to mean anything. If there's just someone threw paint specks all over that lens,
just gives you a point to aim at.
I just need a reference.
Yeah.
And
it's funny, isn't it, how everybody works slightly differently, and as you say, the more information you can have on there, because you get some of like the old Night Force ones and the MTC ones, which literally they're that Christmas tree reticle that gets wider at the bottom and it's just full of dots. But it's great if you know the wind that's happening and you can see the grass moving. Yeah, it gives you an aim point, doesn't it?
Yeah, and for me it works because an object, you look down range and you've been by how many different objects in your life? You've walked by a stop sign, you've walked by a fire hydrant, you've walked by stumps and trees, and for the most part, you know how thick a tree is in any given forest. They're pretty much uniformed.
Yeah.
And so you can, if you've walked through that forest before and you've walked that forest your whole life, you've walked that hillside, you know that rock is a certain size. And if I look through that scope and I'm like, okay, that rock is 24 inches across and I'm 100 yards out, and I look through that scope and there's debris all over it. It could be dust inside the lens. I'm happy because I'm like, oh, between that dust mark and that dust mark, that's how big that rock is. So I know where I'm shooting. It just gives me a point of reference. That's my rangefinder.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think I do that with fence posts. You work out exactly how far a fence post is or something like that, and you go, well, it's 7 fence posts down there. That's 70 yards. Done. instant.
Exactly.
And people are like, how do you know that? And it's like, well, get your rangefinder. Yeah, it's about 73 yards. And it's just something you know, because you shoot that land and all the rest of it.
It's a point of reference. You've been there. You've gone up and down, and it works because if you take all the knowledge you've used in this world, you've walked by objects, you know the certain height of certain things, the certain thickness of objects, how tall a fence post is, what's the average span between post to post,
Exactly.
and what the gap is between two pieces of barbed wire on
That's it.
a 3-wire barbed wire fence. You're like, okay, that's a little over a meter high. I know the spacing is going to be about a quarter meter between each one.
Yeah, totally.
1/3 of a meter. We can just set this up. I'm like, okay, I know how big this animal is. I know what the distance is. I know what my range is. You can put all the data in without having to do much.
Yeah, I find that I think a lot of people now well, we've seen it more and more with the digital scopes and the rangefinders. I think a lot of people are relying on tech, and sometimes you can be out, and especially when if you're out stalking or something like that, tech doesn't always work. Cold weather, batteries. Like I've found with my thermal scope, battery power on a cold night, it disappears and it's gone, and you're trying to find another battery, but where's that battery been? Has it been in an outside pocket? Has it been in an inside pocket? Is it going to have any charge? And again, when you lose it all, you have to, and say you come into the morning, you've got your day scope, you know exactly. I look down that and I pull the trigger and bang, it falls over.
Yeah, there's nothing funnier than trying to go on a hunt with people that say, I got thermal, I got night vision. All right, cool. Turn it on a nice humid day when that air is thick.
That's it.
They're like, everything's red. Yeah. Congratulations. It's reading the air. Air is
Yep.
thick and hot.
Yeah.
Or it's misting outside and you're turning on your night vision and your IR light is reading every bit of reflective water droplets in the air.
Yeah. And that's it. You cannot hunt.
Nope.
They say that the new thermals have got better, and they do. Well, I've seen it. They do actually cut through some of that quite well, because I remember I've got a very old thermal sort of monocular, just handheld. And again, as you say, as soon as you get a bit of rain and everything gets the same temperature gradient on it, you're just looking at a grey picture. You don't see anything. Yep. But I think the new software and whatever they've done, it seems to be able to pick its way through it a little bit better.
I'm hoping to find out.
Well, you will do. You will do. If you're going to be playing with those new pulsars, you're certainly going to find out. So yeah, that'll be exciting to see what comes of that. I think that kind of brings us to a really nice conclusion. So thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
It's been absolutely fantastic to be able to get you on, and yeah, really good.
Hey, thank you so much. If you ever get bored and have an extra free time, give me a call. I'll jump back on and play.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed recording it with Ton. And yeah, we'll hopefully get some more guests like that in the near future. Just one thing I thought I'd mention is that we've started doing a little bit of a review channel, and we've stuck that onto our YouTube channel, the Outdoor Gibbon. Pop along, have a look. I think our first video so far has been a bit of a review on some Harkila boots, but there's lots of other exciting things to come. We picked up a few more items that we'll be reviewing at the stalking show, and we've been in talks with a few other companies as well. The main idea was to always just review equipment that I actually use, so that people can make their own judgments from it. I'm not here to try and sell anything. It's just basically giving you somebody that tests it in the northeast of Scotland, where its weather can be 4 seasons in one day. If it works for me up here, it should work for anybody else. That was the main plan with my reviews. You'll also be able to find on there the video of the podcast that we've just done with Ton Jones, and hopefully you can enjoy watching it as well as listening to it. Remember to subscribe and also tell anybody else about this podcast. So the more people know about it and the more people can listen. Thanks very much, and we'll see you on the next one.